Okay, Alice, welcome and thank you for joining us today. And for our viewers, I am in conversation with Miss Alice Swett, Director of Global Programs URI. So, thank you for sharing your valuable time despite your busy schedule. I know you're really busy.
Totally my pleasure. Thank you, Risha.
So, today I'm going to start the discussion with knowing a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your career path, which led you to join the URI, and have this amazing connection with Harmony, and until now, where you have this enriched experience with you. So, how from a little girl, Alice came here?
How much time do we have?
Oh, we have a lot of time. All the time.
So, I came to URI 3 years ago, and before that, my career was about 25 years as an educator, working with high school and university age students on leadership and community engagement and determining how they wanted to be involved in their communities and what they could do to make their communities a better place and supporting them to do that. So that doesn't start with when I was a little girl. Well, when I was a little girl, I grew up in a family that valued cultural differences a lot. I was really fortunate that my parents were involved in lots of different community organizations, and through them I got to meet lots of different kinds of people, including people from different countries. So I learned about cultural variations amongst people that lived in the U.S., in my community in the U.S., but then also people who lived in other countries, who came and stayed at our home, or that I got to meet one way or another through my parents. For example, actually, I remember my mom took me once to visit a friend of hers who was an Indian woman, and she made something that I think I learned later might have been made of shrimp. I don't know if it's the case, but it's like something that she put into hot oil. It was a little something that she put in hot oil, and it kind of blew up.
Sputters, yeah.
But and also the substance kind of expands, and it's a little bit then like almost like styrofoam, and then you snap it off and you eat it. But that's an example of a memory that I have from when I was really young, involving somebody from a different culture who ate different food, and something that I wasn't familiar with, that my mom introduced me to. So, so that was a really, that exposure to people from different cultures was really significant in my upbringing. My mom was a part of a group of African American women that raised money for Howard University, which is a historically black university in Washington, D.C. And those women would meet in our house, and they had lots of different examples of meeting people. Those two are examples of people that lived in our community, but then also there were people from a variety of other cultures that came and spent time they stayed in our house if they were coming to the city that we lived in for cultural programs or educational programs or professional programs. So, and we hosted exchange students in my home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a well, I guess one student only, but we had a young woman from Malaysia who lived with us for a year. And I got to be an exchange student myself. And
really?
I got to go to Costa Rica for a summer.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I went to Belgium for a year.
Wow. For a year? Your mom was okay with it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 18 when I went away for a year.
Okay.
And I was 16 when I went away for a summer.
So that's nice. I mean, you have this whole area of experience since the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, hosting people at home from different cultures, that's amazing. And that's kind of a thing which I also had in my family. I had this exposure to people from different parts of the world which were not in India, you know. And like your family, my family was also like an open-minded Hindu religious family. I mean, my mom and dad practice Hinduism, but then they never forced that on us. So we are always like intercultural kids of a Hindu religious family, you know.
Interesting.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, sure. It was formative for me.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you come to join URI after that?
Yeah. So I, let's see. There was a time in my life when I was looking for a job a few years ago. And I had known Victor Kazanjian, the executive director of URI. I had known him in a previous job that I had. He and I actually had worked at the same college many years ago. And then so when I was looking for a job, you know how it is when you're looking for a job, you think of everybody you know and what are they doing, and you read ads and you go online and you look everywhere. And I received an email from him at one point that he sent to lots of people. And he was working for URI at the time, and I think that what he sent was our newsletter, the URI monthly newsletter. So in other words, it was a generic email. It wasn't Dear Alice. You know, it was Dear Interested Person.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my goodness, I wonder what he's doing. I know that he's no longer working at Wellesley College, where I had known him many years ago. I heard that he changed jobs. I wonder what he's doing. So I read the email, and I thought, oh, this looks kind of interesting. I wonder if they're hiring. So I went to the website of URI, and I saw that there was a position open.
Wow.
And so I applied for the position. So a couple things. One is he was not involved in the hiring process.
Okay.
Which is important because I wanted to be clear that I got the job, not because he gave it to me, but because other people thought that it would be
well deserving.
good for me to have the job.
Yeah.
But also I was really attracted to URI because I have been really fortunate in my own life to be able to have a lot of different international experiences. And I actually went to graduate school at the University for Peace in Costa Rica.
Oh, yeah.
Quite recently. In 2013, 2014, I was there. And I was able to go there because of a scholarship that I received from Rotary International, which does a lot of work for peace and a lot of work for intercultural understanding. So I was completely fortunate, really blessed to get a scholarship to go study at the University for Peace, where there were students, only 150 students, and they came from 47 different countries.
Wow.
So I had this intensive, wonderful, immersive experience meeting people from all over the world. And that experience really reaffirmed what I knew from my own studies and my own life about international development and community change. And what's important to me about URI is that URI works to support people that live in communities wherever they are to determine what they think is needed in their communities and then to do that thing themselves. And that's a very different model of development than the traditional model, which is we rich white people in the United States go around to those other countries and tell them how to do things. And we export programs to them and we say, here's the way to do things, and here are the best practices, and here's what works, and we know what works, and so we're going to give you money and you're going to do it, and then we're going to come in and you're going to report to us and we're going to feel really good like we're saving the world. And the program that we suggest in that model might be the wrong program for lots of reasons.
Exactly.
And I believe that there are many people who are well-intentioned in the world who want to be doing good and helpful things, who do things like that, and inadvertently they're really not helping people. And it's inefficient, and there's often a lot of money that gets wasted, and a lot of good energy that gets wasted, and a lot of goodwill that gets wasted, and a lot of negative consequences that are unintended but that can emerge through something like that.
So it's not just giving the results, so what's the point in doing it?
And so for me it's really important that URI does not follow that model. URI works with real people, grassroots people, all around the world, and tries to say, how can we help you to do what you do? You're the experts. You who live in this community in South India, you who live in this community in Nairobi, you who live in this community in Djibouti, in Venezuela, in Canada, wherever you are, you know what's best for your community. You know what it needs. You're the experts.
Exactly.
Is there a way that we can support you in what you're doing? We can't give you money. There's not enough money in the world to give to all the people that it would be great to give money to. But is there a way that we can help you be connected with other people who are similarly interested in supporting community change? Is there a way that we can help inspire you to work with people who are different from you? Because that's the other piece of URI, right, is the interfaith piece.
Exactly.
So it's kind of development, community change, community enhancement, community improvement, whatever you want to call it, doing good work for the community, but it's also coming together with people who are different. And so to say that you're different from me, I'm different from you, and we both care about those plants out there. We want those plants to be healthy and thrive. So rather than me taking care of some and you taking care of some, what if we come together and we share your great ideas and my ideas, and we work together to try and help those plants. And in the process, then, we are hopefully recognizing that we're more similar than we might have otherwise thought.
Exactly.
And in some places, that is so powerful. I have been fortunate to talk with people through URI who have told me that when they're meeting together in their cooperation circle, as you know, that's what we call the grassroots groups in URI, or cooperation circles. I met with some young men, for example, in a really low-income neighborhood in Nairobi. And we were in a home, and it was a very small room, and there were a lot of us, and the ceiling was low, and it was fairly dark. There were not a lot of windows. And we were having this great conversation about what they do. And they did a lot of really important work in their community, educating younger children, and also getting a grant to build a public restroom facility for their community. And this is powerful work that's made big changes in their for the people that their neighbors. And we were talking about their work, and they said, one of them said that the members of that group are mostly Muslims and Christians. And I was talking with a guy who was either Muslim or Christian, I don't remember right now which one, and he said, I was sitting here, he was here, and there was another guy here, and this guy said, like that guy, for example, he's a different religion, so out there in the world we wouldn't talk to each other. Oh. But here in our group, we talk to each other, we're friends, we celebrate each other's birthdays, we work together, we're friends. But out in the world, we're taught that we shouldn't interact at all. And to me, that was a really powerful example of how in some places it can be so important to
do what they're doing.
To do what they're doing, exactly. And to have opportunities to bridge that gap. Yeah. And to say, actually, it's great to know each other. And even greater is what we can do as we know each other. So for some people, it's enough to just be in conversation about differences, and that's perfect if that's enough. And in other cases, like with these guys, they, through knowing each other, they were also doing good work for young kids in their community, which is even more powerful for me. I really like that action component.
Yeah, that's a best way of looking at the development and the progress, because where we all are alike, where we don't think that somebody doesn't have ideas and only we have, everybody has, and if you just listen to them, they will have something which can help you, and you can help them. So it's like win-win situation for all of us.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel totally privileged that I get to meet some people like that. Like that story, that was 3 years ago, early on when I started working for URI. And it's totally stuck with me. And I learned from those two young men how important it was to them to have the opportunity to know each other in a low-key, no stress, casual setting.
And in that environment, if they can pull it off, then we can do it at the larger level.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the inspiration and that's the hope.
That's the hope.
Yeah. And I think I believe that it's true.
Yeah, it is true. And it can be done.
Yeah, it's about, for me, it's about seeing when it happens and shining a light on it and lifting it up and affirming it and celebrating it and encouraging it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. That is really powerful.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure, and it is powerful. You're right, and I feel lucky that that's part of my job, right? I mean, how great is that?
Yeah, that's what, your location is perfect, your work is perfect.
The interviewer is perfect.
I am perfect. Well, yeah, we both are perfect.
The camera angle is perfect.
It's perfect. Story. In continuation of that, I was reading a lot about you, and then I came across something called Traveling Peace Academy 2016. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
So can you, and I just got a little curious, like what is that? Because I saw you traveling abroad and meeting people. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Traveling Peace Academy is a program of URI that has existed for a number of years and has taken place a handful of times. The last time that it took place was when I participated in it. And at that time, it was a 1-week-long program that was hosted in Kerala in South India. Our regional coordinator in South India, Dr. Abraham Karakam, coordinated it. And there were people from a variety of different countries, from a variety of different continents. I think there were about 30 of us there. And we had a great week that was a combination of learning peace building skills and some theory and some personal reflection and community building. And it was a great and powerful experience.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. That's like when you went to Nairobi. I mean, it is like just going and seeing the community by itself, like what they're doing, and can we help them anywhere?
Yes, exactly. And the Traveling Peace Academy is so named because it has taken place in different locations at different times through the years, and it is the program has evolved over time, and it's never been the same twice, to my knowledge, which is kind of part of what makes it interesting.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so next question would be, how did you come to become the part of UN from URI? You know, from here to UN, how did this transition or this bridging happened?
So are you asking about URI and the UN and
Yes.
the connection between those two entities?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you coming into the picture.
And myself. Yeah, sure. I know that it's a long-standing relationship because when URI was initially formed 20 years ago, part of the energy behind forming it, as I understand it, and I was not a part of it at the time, right? But so the UN Charter was initially signed in San Francisco.
Exactly.
And I believe it was the 50th anniversary of the signing of the UN Charter in San Francisco that spurred conversations about the UN and how peace building and peacemaking in the world was going and what was needed. And those conversations involved many different people in many different parts of the world. And to make a long story short, part of what was identified is that lots of violence in the world is associated with religion. And it seemed that to complement the work of the UN, which is largely on a policy level, it would be helpful to be working on a grassroots level, specifically inviting people to bridge differences in religious belief or spiritual expression or indigenous tradition or philosophical belief and value. So kind of about how people find meaning in life.
Yeah.
So that was at the very beginning of URI. URI has official standing at the UN as an ECOSOC organization, which is the Economic and Social Council something. And that's something that's a status that some NGOs have. And that status indicates that there is an official relationship between the two entities. And one of the ways that I think is important about the connections between the two, I think of the UN operating primarily at a policy level and URI focusing at the grassroots level. And so we really are kind of complementing. So my colleague Monica at the UN, whom you met, she is often seeking stories about what's happening at the grassroots that are connected to the Sustainable Development Goals, for example, or to whatever policy might be happening at the UN. And as you know, the UN has Sustainable Development Goals, and URI, the cooperation circles in URI focus their work in specific action areas, which are quite similar to the Sustainable Development Goals. So there's quite a bit of coherence in the work efforts of both URI and the UN. And Victor Kazanjian, the executive director, sits on a number of committees at the UN, and URI has a cooperation circle at the UN. Then you met some people who are part of that as well. And a number of people from the UN have spoken at conferences. There was a conference that URI put on last June called Accelerate Peace, and there were some speakers from the UN at that. And similarly, there were URI staff members. For example, a colleague of mine who is in Sarajevo, she recently, just 2 weeks ago, she spoke for a UN event via Zoom. There was an event that was happening in New York. So there's a lot of kind of back and forth between organizations. And in terms of my role specifically, so my title is that I'm the director of global programs. And that means that I supervise a number of our regional staff. So the way URI is structured is the heart of URI is all these grassroots groups. There are over 1,000 of them. They exist in 109 different countries all over the world. And so URI long ago kind of took the universe of cooperation circles and divided them up into geographic chunks. And then hired a local person in each of those geographic chunks to be a staff member whose job it is to be in touch with the cooperation circles and to build community and connection amongst them, and also to see if there are things that we can do to help those cooperation circles do whatever it is that they do. They're all self-governed, they're all self-funded, so they do what they want and they do how they want it. They do it how they want it in the way they think is best. And they raise their money to do it. And we say, is there anything we can do to be helpful? Can we provide training? Can we provide ideas? Can we build connections? You want to talk through the challenges? You want to celebrate the successes? Can we help? We have a website. Each cooperation circle can have a page on our website to help kind of amplify their message. All these different things that happen. So we have maybe 16 of those regional coordinators around the world, and my role as director of global programs is I supervise about half of them, including the regional coordinator for North America. So URI North America, for a handful of years, has invited cooperation circles to encourage or invite young people who are members of their cooperation circles to apply to go visit the UN through URI North America. And each year between at least 3 people have gone, sometimes there have been more, and that it's typically the role of the regional coordinator to accompany the young people and to introduce them to Monica and to the cooperation circle members at the UN and to oversee the logistics and facilitate the trip. At the present time, the position of regional coordinator in North America is open.
Mm-hmm.
It's not filled.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to go. So that's
Isn't
how
that
it is.
lovely?
It was lovely, and that's how I met you.
Yeah, that's what. So I just wanted to thank you for making that trip so comfortable for us, and it was so insightful. I mean, we just met for like 48. We were there for like just more than 48 hours, and then just from strangers we became friends. It doesn't happen that much.
We had the Zoom call first.
Yeah, we had the Zoom call first to add 2 hours on that.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it was 50 hours.
50 hours, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, for your, I mean, you were the boss there, and you just led everything, as I told before, and it was such a lovely experience with you. Yeah, it was.
Well, you're welcome. It was made easy by the fact that the three of you are great.
Oh, yeah, that's
you were all open-minded and interested and smart and engaged, and you had good stories to tell about the work that each of the three of you and Kendra and Sanaya, you each had good stories to tell about the work that you're doing, and good questions to ask about of the people that we met.
Yeah.
And everybody was helpful and fun and good sense of humor, and
it's just
it was
everything
great.
Fell into place wherever we wanted, all the blocks. Right?
Yeah, right? It's true.
That's the right way to put it.
That's right.
So thank you very much.
Oh, it was a total pleasure. I mean, it makes me think about you seeing the Security Council, right? Which was one of your goals.
And the General Assembly. Yeah, that was my dream since I was 15.
That's so cool.
That is so cool, yeah.
See, and that's an example for me. It was a gift that I got to be a part of that. And to see your joy when you were in there was so great. To take your picture to document it. It was awesome.
That was awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. I hope you blow it up and put it on the wall.
Oh yeah, I did it.
Good.
And I have sent it to my friends and say like, see, I'm here. So it leads to my last question is, so there are a lot of events that are happening, as we were talking about Circle of Light, and lots will happen after that. So can you throw some light on any upcoming events from URI or in connection with UN where we as a CC members can be part of?
So there are two that come to mind. The first one is Circles of Light, which is in the Bay Area, and it's the annual celebration that URI holds of the work that we do. And part of the purpose of that is to build community among people in the Bay Area that are interested in interfaith work and in peace building work and in international and intercultural exchange. And part of the function of that is also to raise money for URI.
So it's like kind of a fundraiser.
We're a nonprofit organization, and that's one of the ways that we raise money. So that event is coming up on April 22nd, I believe. It's a Wednesday night, and it was going to be at SF Jazz this year, which is very exciting for the first time.
Exactly.
And there's a wonderful woman that from Uganda who will hopefully be coming. It depends if she can secure a visa. Right now, our staff is working to try to help her get a visa. But just to mention, I know that there will be a number of our staff attending. So the office that we're in right now is called the Global Support Office. And that's because the purpose of this office is to support the cooperation circles globally. And there are people that work in this office, but I also have colleagues who work for the Global Support Office in different parts of the world. And they will be coming to the Circles of Light event. So Maria, my colleague from Argentina, Sarah, my colleague from South Africa, Matthew, my colleague from Wales, and Muse, my colleague from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. They will all be coming, which will be great. And then we're hopeful that a cooperation circle member from Uganda will be able to come. And there may be other people also, I'm not sure. But in any case, it's a great opportunity for people from the community to come and meet each other, and also to meet some of these international people who are just so fun and interesting to talk with.
Yeah.
So there is information about that. Details about that are available on our website, which is www.uri.org. And then the other thing that will be happening is there is something called isn't that funny? It just escaped me. It starts with the letter V. It's a documentary that's going to be shown on PBS that profiles 3 of our cooperation circles around the world. And it's a brand new thing. We're very excited about it, and I believe it will be shown on PBS at some point this spring. And I don't honestly know if we will organize an event around it locally. I know that some people are talking about having watch parties, like, you know, some people have Super Bowl watch parties or watch parties for sporting events. And so there are some people that I know of, for example, in South Africa, who are planning to organize a watch party. So a time to get together with other people and learn about the work of specific cooperation circles and celebrate what they're doing. The name of it is Visionaries. It just came to me. Yeah, Visionaries. Which I like. Because certainly this work is visionary. Many of the people that are doing this work are visionary, and Visionaries, I think, is the name of a show that runs periodically on PBS, public broadcasting, and they're going to do 1 episode about URI.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and again, we'll have information about that on our website. And then there are cooperation circles all over the Bay Area, all over the world. Whoever's watching this interview right now, if anybody goes to www.uri.org, that's our website, and then you can search by cooperation circle. So you click on cooperation circle. I think it's called Who We Are is the drop down, and then it's cooperation circle. And then there's a way to search by region of the world or country, and get a list of all the different cooperation circles in a particular area. And then many of them have websites, so it's possible to see what events they have coming up. There are a large number of cooperation circles in the Bay Area, and they all do different events.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is nice.
Yeah, so there are lots of resources that way.
Yeah, I'm already excited for Circles of Light and the PBS series. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
And something new. Just giving a different angle to what we do.
Yeah, and I also just want to mention that last June there was a conference that we held at Stanford that was attended, as I mentioned, I think by some people from UN staff and UN representatives. Odama Dieng, I'm not certain of what his title is, but he is the senior person at the Office of Genocide Prevention for the UN, for example. He spoke. There were young people that spoke, there were older people that spoke, there were cooperation circle members that spoke, so grassroots and policy, there were government officials. It was a fascinating conference. And it happened last June, and it's all on our website. So it's possible to watch, and it's in manageable chunks. So it's possible to watch lots of really fascinating speakers, and right there at uri.org. So I mentioned that it's different than an event, in that one doesn't go out to it, but it's similar in that it can be really inspirational and stimulating and educational. And I guess for me, I know I was able to attend, and I know many of the people that were there through my work, so I know that they're all real people. You know, they're not just plastic people on television or kind of perfect
people who are actually doing something.
Yeah, they're real people who have families and joys and sorrows and hopes and pain and creativity, and who are doing their best to try to make the world be the kind of world that they want to live in. And so for me, it's really inspiring to watch those videos. So I just want to mention that that's another way for anybody to connect with interfaith work and with peace building work. And there's so much to learn. Yeah,
and simply what an honor to just be in that room where all this positive vibes is there, and then it just takes your energy level up.
That's right.
And then it's just, because it's like a temple, you know.
Yeah, and for me, one of the things that I really appreciate about URI is that it's an opportunity to see how different people are motivated by different things.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Mm-hmm.
So, for example, for some people, religion is a driving force in their life,
mm-hmm.
or spirituality
mm-hmm.
influences decisions they make every day.
Mm-hmm.
And for others, it's really not very relevant.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And even for those for whom it is relevant, it's relevant in different ways for different people.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they have the same values, or they're part of the same spiritual community, the same beliefs can be interpreted differently by different people,
mm-hmm.
and they can guide people in their lives in different ways.
Yeah.
And I think it's such an honor to be able to learn how spirituality or belief of any kind plays a role in people's lives, because it's something that for many people is really intimate. It's very
mm-hmm.
it's very personal to who they are.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that they necessarily talk a lot about.
Yeah.
Or maybe they might talk a lot about it in certain contexts, but my sense is that it often informs people's lives more than they talk about it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And
I have felt that, yeah.
And for me, it's an honor to just be able to be in the presence of people who are guided, inspired, acting
mm-hmm.
from something that's so intimate and so personal,
mm-hmm.
and yet so varied and so different.
Mm-hmm.
And they're and they feel honored in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of what I like about it.
Uh-huh.
I think there are lots of differences that we all have in the world that we don't necessarily talk about.
Exactly.
And that you and I may be different in some ways that we've never discussed.
Mm.
So I could make a guess about whether or not you honor and respect that difference, but we've never talked about it, so I don't actually know.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I like about URI is that I know, because you and I are both active members of URI, I know that differences that we have around our beliefs
Mm-hmm.
is a difference that you're going to respect about me, and I'm going to respect about you.
Exactly.
And we may choose to talk about it, or we may choose not to talk about it.
Exactly.
And either way, it's okay.
Either way.
And so I don't have to pretend that I'm the same as you,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to pretend that I'm something that you know about or something that you like. It's
Mm-hmm.
not relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Your experience of it isn't relevant, because I know that it's sort of protected,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that you will honor it, you will respect it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to agree with it or understand it,
Mm-hmm.
but I know that you'll respect it.
Exactly.
And to me, that's just fundamental
Mm-hmm.
to justice for the planet and for all communities. And I think that it's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's,
I mean, that's an important part of the behavior which everybody should have. Like respecting each other in spite of whatever the differences are. You don't
Right.
even have to know. But then you know that we are in that comfort zone where we don't have to talk about it, but you know that I am okay with it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there are so many people who suffer
Mm-hmm.
discrimination
Mm-hmm.
instead of respect,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether it's based on their belief, whether it's based on their age,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's based on what they look like, on how they talk,
Mm-hmm.
on who they love,
Mm-hmm.
on their skin color, their body
Exactly.
shape,
Mm-hmm.
so many different things,
Yeah.
how their brains seem to work or seem to not work, just so many different things.
Yeah.
And there's so often pain associated with that.
Yeah.
So for me, it's really, I strongly experience
Mm-hmm.
like joy that I get to be with people in that sort of respected space.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even if you meet somebody on the street, I mean, just a glance and then just a little smile,
Mm-hmm.
and that's enough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's enough for that moment,
Right.
isn't it? So
Yeah.
it everything comes from that space in your heart where you know that, oh, here's another living being,
Mm-hmm.
and he and she is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me just have a smile. And,
Yeah.
Look at him and have a smile, and
Right.
right.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I personally love being able to create that connection with people, especially if it seems like it's something that they might not expect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they happen to be really old and I happen to
Mm-hmm.
be really young, or if they happen to, for example, if they live on the street,
Mm-hmm.
right? Many people on the street are often overlooked
Exactly.
and are not, don't have the experience of being looked at in the eye and smiled at and saying hello.
Yeah.
You know, so I like it when I can kind of make that bridge.
Yeah.
Or the bus driver, you know, to say hello to the bus driver when most people
Exactly.
ignore the bus driver. Just
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Yeah. Those small things where just be confident in who you are, and then just respect the other person. Just give a smile. That's it. Give one smile, and that's enough. Yeah.
And you're good at that.
Yes, I am. No, I'm kidding.
So true, you are.
No, I'm just kidding. But then we all try. I mean, whoever I meet, I mean, there's so many people I met in your office, and everybody had a smile. So we all are doing it at the very level where it is needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that many people in the world do it and would do it more if they felt like it would be received.
Yeah, that is true.
So it's fun to get to be a part of something that's about promoting that.
Yeah, that's right. And talking about it and feeling uplifted again, because that's what you do, right?
Yeah, right. I know. Isn't it great?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so so many people spend their time doing things that aren't uplifting. It's really a privilege to be able to spend my time doing something that's uplifting.
Yeah.
I really feel that way.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I feel. At the end of the day, you're not stressful, you're doing something good. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I have spent a lot of time with you in New York, so I know how wonderful you are.
Oh.
And what kind of enriched experience you get with your life. But with this interview, I think it'll just reach to the larger viewers, and I hope they get inspired the way we, as the interns at UN, got inspired.
Thanks, Richa.
So thank you very much once again for doing this.
Oh,
and,
yeah. My pleasure.
We wish you all the best for your future, and everything you just said, that it just should explode at the larger level.
Well, thank you, and thanks for being a part of a cooperation circle of URI.
Yeah.
You know, really, the work that you're doing at Think Round is so great, and it's so important. And I know, even as I was talking about those connections and those specific interpersonal connections, I know that that's something that resonates with you, because it's something that you are also working on in your own way at Think Round.
Yeah.
And that work is so important. So thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
And here's to it, and here's to you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Wow, what a great way of ending an interview.
Yay!
Routine, yay! Oh, you do what?
And you eat it. It's a food.
It
becomes like as I recall. I was a young girl, but what I recall is that, you know how if you have a dry sponge and you put it in water, it expands? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
So this was a food material.
Well, I've never eaten that, but I lost my mom. Maybe it was there in our culture, but I didn't get to eat it.
I don't know. But so I'd be curious. Yeah, when you ask your mom, let me know.
Sure. Hair, makeup done? I'm done. Action.